Okay, so first of all, they asked us to rewrite an expression for -7 minus -2 as an expression that gives us the same results. So, oh, sorry. First of all, let's figure out, well, what is the result that we get here? If we started with 7 positives, and we want to remove 2 negatives, well, if I'm going to remove 2 negatives, I need another 2 positives to go with those 2 negatives so that I don't change the value. If I remove the 2 negatives, what do we get? Anybody? 9. So an addition that gives the same thing would be 7 plus 2. Seven minus a -2, subtracting a negative, I said this several times in class yesterday, subtracting a negative is the same thing as adding a positive. Removing negativeness is the same thing as adding positiveness. So, here, every subtraction, bless you, subtraction problem can be rewritten as an addition problem that gives the same result, but it's not always helpful to do that. So it said rewrite each of the following subtraction problems as addition problems, and then write whether the new expression is easier to work with than the original. Be prepared to discuss when it is useful to change a subtraction problem into an addition problem. So I'll do this first one to make sure that you're good. This is the same thing as saying 8 plus -3. In either case, what do we get? 5. So, do you think it's easier just to do 8 minus 3 or to rewrite it as 8 plus -3? 8 what? Yeah, it's probably easier to just do it the way that it was to start with. There's really no reason to rewrite that as an addition problem. All right? So I want you to go through the rest of them if you have not already. If you have already, talk to somebody near you about what they're doing and discuss which one you think is easier. So do all of the rest of them. Make sure you've discussed it with someone as to which one you think is easier. I know a lot of you have done most of them already. And in a couple of minutes, I'm going to start calling on people randomly. If you are done, discuss it with someone near you. That means you're going to have to talk to somebody. I know it's not your favorite thing, but do it anyway. So, for this one, you could write that as 4 plus what? Yeah, 4 plus -7 is the same thing as 4 minus 7. Well, we want to use, for this one, that to -7 plus +3. I'm sorry? Well, sorry, plus -3. Yes, my fault. Maybe won't be getting that back anytime soon. single one of them as an addition problem and decide which one is easier, the original or the new one. So have you gone through and decided which one is easier? You can mark those so that we know which one is easier. So, Baird, are you done?
Yeah.
Have you talked with someone?
Most of
Talk to Johnny then. It doesn't have to be your shoulder partner. Are you done? Have you talked to someone to? All right, you guys just about ready? Okay, so for the first one, desk 13, Emma, how did you rewrite this?
Weird. B. I did the answer to the first one is -3, and then +4 plus -7 equals 15.
All right, and this is an opinion question. Which one do you think is easier? The first one? Okay. Do any of you on that one like the second one more? Okay. Part C. Who's in desk 10? Paul.
So the answer is -10.
Uh-huh. And how can we rewrite it?
-7 plus -3 in parentheses equals -10.
Okay. So if you were given this problem and this problem, which one do you think is easier?
The first one.
The first one? Okay. Does anyone think this one's easier? Well, I think absolutely this one is easier. If I'm asked to add two negatives together, they're both the same. I'm just adding them. Is this one hard? No. But I would definitely say this one is the easier of the two. You're just adding two things that are alike together. Is it really necessary? No. All right, for this one, desk 4, oh, that one's empty, so I guess I'll do it. So this is negative 16. I could rewrite it as negative 4 plus negative 12 is negative 16. I think this is easier. Not a lot, but a little bit at least. All right. Sorry, is there a question? I missed it.
No, because I told her this is gonna say the answer.
I'm sorry, I can't hear you.
So I told her one of the other questions was 16, and that one was negative 16. So I was wondering if I told her.
Okay,
16.
gotcha. All right, so this one is 16. Let's see. Ben, how did you rewrite this one? You, Ben.
12 plus 4.
Now, which one is easier?
Second one.
Yeah, the second one's definitely easier on this one. All right. Sammy, what is the answer to this one? I'm sorry? All right. I'll take a volunteer. Yes.
Answer is 24.
And how could I rewrite it?
9 plus 15.
And which one of those two problems would be easier if you were starting with it?
Definitely second.
Yeah, definitely the second one. All right, let's see. Desk 9. Barrett?
For G? Is it for G?
Yes.
The answer is negative 17.
Yep. And how could you rewrite it?
Negative 20 plus 30.
Which one do you think is easier?
The new one.
The new one? I do too. It's not crazy easier, but it's at least somewhat easier. Although on this one, because this number is large, you could make a case for, well, I'm taking away 3 of the negatives that I have out of the 20, I'm left with 17 negatives. So that one could be easier for some people. All right, and then let's see, desk 5, Johnny.
The answer for what I got was 2.
Right, and how could you rewrite it?
Negative 6 plus 7.
And which one do you think is easier? Yeah, I do too. So most of the time when we're subtracting a negative, it's easier if you change it into plus a positive. Other times it may be helpful, but it's not always a big deal. All right. So in an earlier lesson, we observed that if you had 3 plus 3 plus 3 plus 3 plus 3 plus 3 plus 3, you could rewrite it a lot shorter as 7 times 3. So let's find the value of each of these expressions and rewrite it as a multiplication problem. I'm going to rewrite it first and then find the value. So there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 fours. So that's 20. So here I've got 1, 2, 3, 4 negative 7s. So that's negative 28. Now, for this one, there are two different ways you can think about it. Since it's got a subtraction sign in between them, I'm going to say that this is, I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I'm subtracting a 5 6 times from 0. That's why they give you this 0 to start with. So I'm subtracting 5 6 times. That's going to be negative 30. And on this one, then, we're subtracting negative 3 1, 2, 3, 4 times. And that's going to be positive 12. So when is the answer for your multiplication problem positive? So I've got a multiplication here and a multiplication here that both turned out to be positive. What do you notice about the two numbers? Yes.
Either both positive or both negative.
Yes. When both numbers are positive or both are negative, the answer to the multiplication is positive. So what happens when we end up with a negative? Somebody else. Thank you, though. Yes, Johnny.
The answer will be negative
When what?
when one number is negative,
And the other number is?
positive.
Yeah, it's important you know about both of them. So if one number is negative and the other one is positive, the answer to the multiplication is negative. And you have to be careful on these problems about saying things in too short a fashion. Let me give you an example. I will have someone who will look at this and say, oh, that means, and they'll say it just like this, two negatives make a positive. To which I say, you mean negative 3 plus negative 5 is a positive number? No. So you can't, in math, you have to be really specific. When I'm multiplying, two negatives multiplied together makes a positive. Okay? When I'm adding, it does not. Thank you, Emma. All right, let's go on to page 2. Try those three problems quickly. Go. So find the answers and then write it out the long way. Bless you. Yes. Yeah. All right. So Sammy, tell me what you got here. I'm sorry? Negative 12? Great. I have a positive multiplied times a negative. I'm adding negative 3 to itself 4 times. All right. Yes, Paul. Negative 30. Yeah. Here, I am subtracting 6 5 times. I don't really need the parentheses. All right, and then the last one, anyone? 28. I'm subtracting negative 4 7 times. And as I've kept saying, subtracting negativeness is the same as adding positiveness. All right, so what does negative 18 divided by 9 equal? Pardon? Negative 18 divided by 9. Negative 2. How do I know that? Well, there's lots of ways you could explain that. But one way you could explain it is that 9 times negative 2 is negative 18. Remember, every division problem is the inverse of a multiplication problem. So here, if I've got 45 divided by negative 3, what is that going to be equal to? Negative 15, because negative 3 times negative 15 is positive 45. So negative 32 divided by negative 8 is? Try again. 4. Because 4 times negative 8 is negative 32. And then negative 54 divided by 6 is negative 9. Because 6 times negative 9 is negative 54. Okay, any questions?
Like the rules backwards.
Pardon?
Is it like what we were?
Yeah,
But it's backwards.
exactly. You're just reversing the process. Okay? Good point. Any other questions or comments? Okay, then that's it for today.